Good morning. Let's begin our session. So let's discuss about some of the other services in AWS. So we have a service called Cloud Formation. In the previous session, we have gone through like how can we create an RDS, relational database service. Suppose if the DB, like if the application team requires any database resource, then how we are going to create the database for them. So we have understood from the previous session, how can we configure RDS, relational database. So now let's move on to the other service, which is called Cloud Formation. We need to understand what is this Cloud Formation is in a very simple words. I can say this Cloud Formation is similar to our Terraform. If you have already gone through like what is Terraform and all, you will definitely understand like what is Cloud Formation. So either Terraform or CloudFormation, whatever the tool we are using, they are mainly for creating infrastructure. Okay, they are mainly for creating infrastructure. You know what is infrastructure? What do you mean by infrastructure? Either creating servers. If we want to create a server or a storage bucket or anything, VPC kind of thing, subnets, any infrastructure we wanted to create in AWS cloud that can be done by using cloud formation also. So the cloud formation is being provided by AWS only. Okay, Terraform is not available inside the AWS cloud. Remember Terraform, we use Terraform for configuring the infrastructure for all the cloud platforms, for all the cloud providers. Terraform is available for all the cloud providers. Okay, Terraform is an open source tool. Terraform is an open source tool, but the specialty of Terraform is like we can create infrastructure in any of the cloud platform by using Terraform. This cloud formation is meant only for AWS cloud. Okay, cloud formation. If I have the cloud formation, if I know the cloud formation, I can create infrastructure only in the AWS cloud. If I know the Terraform is meant for creating infrastructure in all the cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, GCP, whatnot. You can create infrastructure in Kubernetes. There are many places where we can create infrastructure by using AWS. Okay, let me show you. Suppose, for example, if you want to understand like, okay, for example, if you want to understand like what is how actually the Terraform behaves. Okay, so we have a document, we have a registry called Terraform registry. Please go to Terraform registry. I'm just showing you like to get some idea on Terraform. If you understand Terraform, definitely you will understand what is cloud formation. What is this Terraform? Terraform is mainly for creating infrastructure. Terraform is mainly for creating infrastructure. If I'm using the word infrastructure, you need to understand either we can create an EC2 instance, either we can create an S3 storage bucket, we can create IAM roles, we can create any of the resources in the AWS cloud. Okay, not only in the AWS cloud, you see here by using Terraform, we can create infrastructure in any of the mentioned cloud providers here. You can see we have a list of cloud providers, right? We can create our infrastructure in AWS. We can create our infrastructure in Azure. In the same way, we can go for GCP also. We can create infrastructure. We can create our infrastructure in GCP also by using the Terraform. Whatnot, you can see your infrastructure can be created. You can create infrastructure in Kubernetes, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud. There are many things, okay? There are many things. You see, there is a list, there is a big list here. All these can be supported, okay? Terraform, by using Terraform, we can create infrastructure in all these cloud providers. Okay, this is a different tool that we will be discussing in the DevOps tools. It is one of the DevOps tools that we'll be covering as part of DevOps course, okay? And you all know, right? We will be starting a new batch from tomorrow. If any one of your friends or if any Okay, if you want to share this, okay, the course details with any one of your friends, relatives, you can please share it. Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, you are going to learn. Okay, we will be starting up the DevOps tools. As I told you, we'll be starting up the tools like Git, Maven, Jenkins. First, we will start with the Linux commands, and then we'll be going for Maven, Git, Maven, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes. Why? Because all those tools are very much important. Okay, those are the DevOps tools. So far, we have seen only the cloud portion. What are the cloud services that are playing a major role? Okay, in the projects. So from tomorrow onwards, we'll be covering the DevOps tools. Okay, for now, today, we'll be discussing about the tool called CloudFormation, and there is a tool called SQS, Simple Queuing Service. And you can please go through the list of services. If any one or two services are, if any one or two services we have not covered, that we'll be taking an additional session to cover them. No issues. For now, let me go through the tool called, let me go through CloudFormation. Okay. So to understand CloudFormation, you need to have the basic idea of Terraform. Terraform is a tool which is for creating infrastructure. Similarly, CloudFormation is also meant for creating infrastructure only. And all these tools are called as IAC tools. You know, all these tools are called as IAC tools. Chandrakant, you know the full form of IAC? What is the full form of IAC? IAC stands for infrastructure as a code, infra as a code. Terraform is an IAC tool. CloudFormation is an IAC tool. Okay, why we call it as IAC tool? The full form of IAC is infra as code. Infra as code. Why we'll be calling it as infra as code? Because you can write the script. Okay, we'll be writing the script, and with the help of the script, we will be configuring the infrastructure. You simply write the script. Okay, you can understand by the name itself. Like we are going to write the code. Infra as the code. We'll be writing the code. With the help of the code, we'll be creating our infrastructure. We'll be writing the code. With the help of the code, we'll be creating infrastructure. That's why it is called as infra as code. That's the reason why the tool is called as infra as code. So all these tools like Terraform, CloudFormation that we are discussing now, all these are IAC tools, infrastructure as a code or infra as a code. We'll simply write the code. With the help of the code, we'll be creating our infrastructure. Let's see here. Let me go to the service. Okay. I am going to a service called, okay, CloudFormation, right? Let's understand what is CloudFormation. And we have seen the brief introduction about CloudFormation, I think. So CloudFormation is also an IAC tool. The very first point, the CloudFormation is an IAC tool. IAC tool. What it will do, you can see here, infrastructure as a code. CloudFormation is IAC tool. You simply write the code. We'll write the code. Based on this code, infra will be created. That's why it is called as infra as a code. Infrastructure as a code. Instead of doing manually, okay, how we created the infrastructure, you remember, right? Suppose if I want to create an EC2 instance, how did I create an EC2 instance? I did created an EC2 instance by going to the UI. I'll go to the EC2 part. Usually how we are creating infrastructure so far. Suppose if I want to create an EC2 instance, I'm going here. I'm selecting the service. I'm going for the instances running. We don't have any instances. Then manually, we are doing all these things manually. Just clicking on launch instances, providing all these inputs, okay? Selecting all these things, AMI, instance type, all these things, manually selecting all these things. I'm just launching an instance. That's it. This is how we are creating. Okay. So now what we are doing with the help of this, CloudFormation, the CloudFormation, we are not going to create our infra manually. We'll be creating infrastructure by writing the code. So how to write the code, how we are going to write the code, and all these things we'll be understanding. Usually we'll write the code in two different formats. Okay, let me come up the two different formats that we'll be using for writing the code. So usually we write the code in two different formats. One is AML, the other one is JSON. You know what is AML and JSON? AML. See here, AML. One is AML, the other one is JSON. The full form of JSON is JavaScript Object Notation. AML stands for Ain't Markup Language. Okay, in markup language. So we will be writing the code in two different formats. Either you can write your code in AML format, or otherwise you can also write your code in JSON. So for the basic understanding purpose, let's understand what is the difference between an AML file format and the JSON file format. For example, okay, let's understand how actually we are going to write an AML file. What is an AML file here? You see, this is an AML one. This is an AML one. Left side keys will be there. Right side values will be there. Okay, left hand side keys will be there. Right hand side values will be there. Name is a key. And if I specify the name of the person, that will be the value. Age is the key. That is the value. Address is the key. And you see here, when you come to this address part, okay, try to understand the difference between these things. Name is the key. John Doe is the John. You see here, name is the key. John Doe is the value. Age. Age is the key. That is the value. Address. So address is the key. And now you see these are the value. Of course, what I'm trying to say is here, address will be considered as a parent element because address is having some low level elements. Like I am going to specify what is the street name, what is the city name and all. Okay. For these two things, for street and city, address will be the parent element. Okay. Can you see here for the name and age, what is the parent element here? Will you able to understand what is the parent element for name and age? Anyhow, name is the key, John Doe is the value. Age is the key, that is the value. For these two things, what is the parent element? Person is the parent element. You got it? And again, these are the child elements for the person. You see, first we are writing the parent element, name, age, address. These are the child elements for the parent element called person. Again, address is having child elements like street and city. So this is the street name. Anyhow, this is the key and this is the value. This is the key and this is the value. This is how the AML file format will be there. Okay. So syntactically, we should see after writing the key, we should give semicolon. Is it a colon or semicolon? We should give colon. Okay. So name, we should represent the key colon and we should give some space. After leaving the space, then only we need to pass the value. Okay. So this is how actually we write an AML file format. Let's see the JSON file format. You see the difference between the AML and JSON. So here we use the braces. We'll start with the braces. Okay. This is the open brace and this is the closed brace. And within the braces, we'll be writing the same. How we are writing here in the same way we are writing. But you see here, each and every key must be represented in double quotes here. Person, open brace. Okay. So if this is the person is represented here as a parent element, and you see name and age are the child elements, name, age, and address are the child elements. And each and every key or value you are specifying here, each and every key or value, either name, age, values like John Day 30, whatever it is, we are keeping everything in double quotations. It requires quotes around the strings. It requires quotes around the strings. If you are specifying any particular string, you need to close the string within the double quotes. And we use braces. Okay. So here I'm starting, I'm specifying the person information. That's why I'm writing the parent element as person and I'm opening the braces and closing the braces. This entire information is related to the person only. These are the child elements, name, age, address. These are the child elements. Again, address is having some sub-child elements like street and city. Every string must be every string must be kept in the double quotes. But here in the AML file format, we are not keeping everything we are not using any braces and we are not keeping anything in the double quotes. We are just simply using the key colon value name. Okay, key colon value. This is how, okay, this is how we write the AML and JSON file formats. And if you ask me like which one is very easy, okay. So for user, like if user wants to write this JSON file format, it's a little difficult for the user to write this JSON file format, and most preferably he will go for AML file format. It is up to you. Like once you write in everything in the once you're writing anything in the AML file format, you can easily convert that into JSON file format. If you have the JSON file format, you can convert that into the AML file format. So whoever is interested in writing JSON, they can go for JSON. Whoever is interested in writing AML, they will go for AML. Okay, but to discuss, generally speaking, this particular one, okay, generally speaking, this particular JSON format is little uh, little complex. Okay, little complex to write. That's the reason why preferably we can go for AML file format. Okay. So suppose if users feel that JSON file format is yes, they can go for JSON file format. That's not a matter. Once you write a code in a ML or JSON file format, you can you can simply convert that into the JSON or any vice versa. Okay, for now, let me go to the cloud formation. You understood the basic idea, right? What is a cloud formation now? Anybody? What is cloud formation? Cloud formation is nothing but what?
Yes,
It is mainly for creating
infrastructure.
infrastructure. Cloud formation is a tool, is a service in AWS. Okay, it is not a tool. Cloud formation is a service in the AWS cloud. It is mainly for creating infrastructure. I'm going to the cloud formation. I'm just going to the cloud formation. So now I will be creating. Okay, let me show you. I would like to create an S3 bucket. So far, we have created an S3 bucket by going to the S3 dashboard. There we'll be having an option to create a bucket, like create a bucket, so that we will be providing the bucket name, all these things. Now we are creating the same bucket with the help of by writing the code. Okay, by writing the code. Let's see how we are going to do it. And this is the dashboard of cloud formation. You can search here with the service name cloud formation. This is how the dashboard looks like. On the left navigation, you'll be having stacks, stack sets, exports. There are some other options here. Infrastructure composite. There are multiple options here. Let me go to the stacks. Okay, first of all, what we need to do is we need to create a stack. If you want to create any particular infrastructure, the very first thing that you need to do is you need to create a stack. Okay, you need to create a stack. Okay, now we are going to create a stack. First of all, I'll be going to the stacks. I don't have any stacks for now here. I'll be just creating a create stack. And you see here, first we have multiple options here. If I have the template already, if I have the code in the form of template, I can choose that one. If I want to use the existing sample template, I can go for it. If I want to write the code, okay, in the ML file in the ML or JSON format, first we will be going for build from infrastructure composer. I'm going for infrastructure composer. Then I'm selecting create infra composer. I'm going for create infra composer. So this is how actually it opens. Okay, infra composer will be opened like this, and here we'll be having some again the resources. For example, if I want to create an S3 bucket, if I want to create an S3 bucket, I can create. I have some list of resources. You can see here on the left hand side, we have some list of resources. Simply, but what I can say is if you want to create any infra, first go to the cloud formation, then go to the stacks, create a stack. Okay, I'm going for build from infrastructure composer. I'm just going for next. Before I go move on to next, I'll be going for, yeah, you can simply click on next also, but template is required. That's why I'm going for create infrastructure composer. We are going to write some code. Okay. Here I have options, right? Canvas template something. I'm going for template. Just go for template. You can write your code here. Either you can write your JSON code or YAML code. So suppose if we are the beginners, we don't know how to write. Okay, even I don't know how to write and all. I'll be going for okay, Chat GPT, or otherwise you can go to the Google. You can search anywhere. Okay. Nowadays, if Chat GPT is giving everything accurately, you can go for Chat GPT and ask Chat GPT like, want to create, I want to create an S3 bucket using cloud formation. I want to create an S3 bucket using cloud formation. Please generate. I'm simply asking the chat GPT like it will be generating some code. Okay. So this is a S3 bucket. Okay. This is the one. This is the code which is generating for S3 bucket. Okay. Can you see here? cloud formation AML template for S3 bucket. Okay, what is the resource that it is going to create? Research it is going to create as type of the resource that it is going to create, it is S3 bucket. Okay, and I have a few things you can see here. Sample, this is the sample. Look, if you want to create S3 bucket in the AWS using cloud formation, ask the sample cloud formation template. Okay, it is giving. So for creating a bucket, usually we'll be having more options, right? We will be having access policies, life cycle, many options we need to configure. But I don't want all those options. I'm going for simple template which is written in the YAML. Okay, I just asked the ChatGPT like to create an S3 bucket. To create an S3 bucket, I need a sample template. So that's it. I asked ChatGPT so that it has generated this particular code. Can anyone guess whether this particular code is written in YAML or not? Anyhow, it is mentioned here. It is written in the YAML. What is the difference between YAML and JSON? If it is an YAML, you see like key value pairs. Okay, the code is written in the form of key value pairs. Left hand side key will be there. Right hand side value will be there. If it is in the JSON format, usually you will find braces. Okay, you will find braces and each and every string will be enclosed in double quotes. Each and every string will be enclosed in the double quote. That is how you recognize whether the code is written in the YAML format or JSON file format. So this is written in the YAML file. I'm just copying this code. I'm copying this code. I'm going back to my I'm going back to my this one infra composer. I'm pasting this here. I'm just pasting it over here. And before I move on, I will be providing some unique name. Always remember, if you want to create a bucket in AWS, definitely you need to give a unique name. Why? Because if you want to create a bucket called my sample bucket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if this bucket is already been created and using by someone, if this bucket, okay, the bucket with the same name, if the bucket with the same name is already been created and used by someone else, you cannot create it. That's the reason why I'm asking you to provide a unique name. Okay, to provide a unique name. This is the bucket name that I would be creating. I'm going to create a temp validate. Okay, you have an option here just to validate the syntax and all. Click on validate so that it is clearly showing, okay, the syntax which we are providing here, everything is correct. Okay, validate. It is valid. Syntax is valid. And I'm going to create a template. Continue, okay, confirm and continue to the cloud formation. I'm just going to the next. Okay, by default, you don't need to provide any other options. You need to provide the stack name for sure. You can go for providing the stack name. Okay, since I'm creating an S3 bucket, you can provide the stack name as my S3. You can provide the stack name as my S3. Any name you can provide. Okay, stack name must be 1 to 128 characters starting with a letter, and only alphanumeric characters will be supported. You can provide some name as a stack name. I'm just going to the next option. I'm not providing any other optional things. Tags, permission. I'm not going to provide any other optional things. I'm just clicking on next and I will be submitting my code. That's it. I've given some code and asking it to create an infra. You can see now here whether the infra will be created or not. So what is the code that we have provided? You see, we are asking to create a bucket. Okay, we are asking to create a bucket. Okay, my S3 bucket. This is the name. Okay, this is how actually the syntax must be provided. My S3 bucket type, properties, bucket name, access control. This is the bucket name. Okay, properties of the bucket name is being provided. Access control, whether it is public or private, you need to. Okay, by default, if you do not provide, okay, so there will be some default options. If you do not provide anything by default, it will consider some other alternate options. By default, it will consider some options. So based on that, the bucket will be created. For now, let's see the status of this cloud formation. It is still in the progress. Let me refresh and see whether it is completed or not. Yes. This bucket creation is completed. Okay, the infra creation is completed. How can we understand? You can see here the status. The create, we can able to see the green color status that it is completed. I'm just refreshing it, and here also you can see I'm just going for the stacks. My S3 stack. I'm just opening it. Okay, you can see here this is completed. This is done. How can I validate whether this is done or not? Okay, how can I validate? You can see this bucket is created. This is the physical ID. Okay, this is the physical ID. I'm just going to the S3 service from here onwards. Physical ID. Okay, this is the physical ID. Okay, I'm just clicking on that particular link so that I will be moving to the particular S3 bucket. Can you see here? I'm able to see a bucket, general purpose bucket. I'm just clicking on this. Okay, I'm going to the Amazon. Even if you go, you can go to the Amazon S3 and you can just simply click on general purpose buckets, and we are able to see now my sample bucket. This is the bucket that I've created for now. Is it okay? Is it okay? We have created an infra just by writing the code. We have just created we created infra just by writing the code. And one thing we should understand here, one thing we should understand here, we did not specify any region. We did not specify any region. By default, if you do not specify any region, by default, it will pick up some, but there will be some default region. Okay. So the default region for us is AP South 1. Why? Because what is the nearest region for us? Based on the location. Okay. Suppose if we are in the India, the nearest location for us, the nearest active location for us will be AP South 1. Maybe the infrastructure is also there in the Hyderabad also. The infrastructure is also there in the Hyderabad, but that is not, we cannot create our infrastructure in Hyderabad because of the free trial. There are some other regions also which are not enabled because of our, because of some restrictions. Okay. So some regions are disabled. You can see some regions are disabled. So we cannot create our infrastructure in these disabled regions. So if you do not specific, what I'm trying to say is if you are not specifying any region, by default, it will consider some default region. For us, the default region is AP South 1. That's why the infra is created in AP South 1, Mumbai. Let me go ahead and create. Okay, this is one cloud. Okay, this is the one stack. This is the one stack I've created. Now I'm going to create one more stack. Let me show you. I'm going to create one more stack. I'm going to create another stack. How to create a stack? Just click on create stack with the new resources or existing resources. I don't want to go for existing. I want to create a new resource. If you want to go with existing, yes, you can proceed, but I want to create a new one. Build from the infrastructure. Suppose if you already have the template, if you have already the template from here, you see, here we have some sample templates to create the LAMP stack, WordPress blog. Okay. There are some templates. If you want to use a sample template, you can select any of the sample template. If you have an existing template from in your Amazon S3 bucket or in your personal machine from the Git repository, if you have the template, either JSON or YAML file, if you have your YAML or JSON file that describes your resources, if it is available in your S3 bucket, you need to provide that S3 URL. If you want to upload if you want to upload any template file from your, okay, you see here, I'm just choosing, I'm asking it, okay. I'm asking it to choose the file from my local machine. From my local machine, I can upload it from my local machine. And if my code is available in the Git repository, I can upload it from the Git repository also. For now, I'm going to create a new one. That's I'm selecting build from infrastructure composer. Click on next. Sorry, before we go ahead, we need to create infrastructure composer. We need to go for infrastructure composer. I'm going for a template. Okay, here we need to provide the template. Okay, again, I'm asking, okay, I'm going here to the ChatGPT. I'm asking sample code for creating IAM user. Just asking, okay, sample code for creating IAM user. I'm not mentioning that, but it will understand why, because based on the above scenarios, ChatGPT will understand what I'm trying to ask. Okay, it is not a new conversation. So based on the above conversation, it can understand like I'm going to create an IAM user. Yes, this is the sample code that it has been generated. Okay, the cloud formation template can be generated so that you can use it. Let me show you. Sample cloud formation for IAM user. Yes, you can select this one. Okay. I'm just okay. This is the sample cloud formation template to create an IAM user. I'm just copying it. I'm going for the infra as a code here. I'm pasting it over here. What is the username I'm creating? Can you understand anything from the code? First of all, let me know what kind of code it is, whether it is an AML format, whether the code is in AML format or JSON format.
YAML format.
AML format. What we are trying to create now? We are trying to create an AWS
IAM, sir.
IAM user. What is the username that I will be giving?
My sample user.
My sample user. Okay. And I'm going to attach a policy here. I'm going to attach a policy. The name of the policy is my sample policy. What is the action that it will be allowed? He can list out the,
Buckets.
he can allow listing the buckets. You can see, okay, what are all the buckets that are available. Okay, this is the policy that I'm using. This is the user, okay, my sample user I'm creating, and for that user I'm attaching some policy. Name of the policy is my sample policy, and the policy action will be, you can list out, you can view all the, you can see, you can list out and see all the buckets. For now, I'm just click on create, continue, confirm and create to the cloud formation. And I'm not providing any other options for now. Stack name, it is asking. We need to provide the stack name. I'm giving like my IAM stack, okay? My IAM user stack. I'm just giving like my IAM user stack. Click on next, and I will be click on acknowledge. Yes, that's it. That's it. If there are any errors, usually, if there are any errors, it will throw the error. If there are no errors, the infra will be created. You see, the IAM user stack is in progress, right? We can simply go to the IAM dashboard. I can simply go to the IAM dashboard, and I will be going for users. How many users so far? What is the username that I provided? Is this the username, right? My sample user is the username. What is the policy that I have attached? What is the permission that I have attached? Okay. User groups, users. I'm creating a user called my sample user. If you can open the user, you can open this one and you can see what are the things that has been attached to this one. When it is created, now only. Now only it is created. Hope you understood like how we are creating this, how we are creating infrastructure. Okay. I'm going back here. Let's see whether it is completed or not. IAM is completed or not. Yes, it is completed. We are done with creating an IAM user. Am I doing anything? No, I'm just getting the code. You can get the code from the from the documentation. You have an AWS documentation. You can go to the cloud formation and see. Okay, AWS documentation. You can search like AWS documentation. Go to the AWS documentation, and you will be finding out a service called cloud formation. Go to the cloud formation. There you will find out all these things. Nothing we're doing. Cloud formation. Maybe you can find out AWS cloud formation documentation. Go to there, user guide. Okay, if you want to know the concept in clear, you can go for it. You can start it with working with the templates, template formats, how the template formats looks like either JSON or, okay, sample resources. You can see how actually we are creating all these things. Infrastructure composer. Okay, you can see each and everything. If you want to learn about this particular service in detail, okay, all these are the things you can see. You can go ahead and see. We have some videos also here. You can watch all these videos and you can learn. Just for the sake, like you can create infrastructure by using cloud formation. What is the stack here? First, we need to create a stack. Stack is nothing but that particular infra set you are creating. Okay, you can create some, you can give some name for the infrastructure you are creating. That is nothing but a stack. The same way, you can also, you understood, right, how we are creating infrastructure. In the same way, you can also create EC2. So if I'm asking, go ahead and create, okay, I want to create, generate the sample code, generate the cloud formation. I'm just asking, like, generate the simple cloud formation code for EC2. Okay, I want to create an EC2 machine. Okay, I want to create an EC2 machine. I'm asking like generate a simple code Okay, I'm going for choosing this particular piece of code. I'm going for the cloud formation. You can provide some other stack. You can go here and provide some stack. Okay, you can create a new stack, new resources, build from the infrastructure, create infrastructure template, select the template, provide your code here. Okay, I'm just going to create, maybe see, while giving all these things, few things we must be very clear, like yeah, image ID. Okay, image ID, image ID, where we need to see whether this image ID is present over there or not. How to check the image ID? You can go here. So you can go to the EC2 dashboard. You can go to EC2 dashboard and you can find out the lots of image AMIs will be there. Sorry. Let me go here, EC2. We have an EC2 dashboard. Go to the instances running. I don't have any instances running currently. I will launch an instance. Okay. And you can see some images, right? AMIs are there, right? Browse AMIs. Quick start AMIs. You have some list of AMIs, quick start AMIs. So there are some 45 AMIs. You can select any of the AMI and you can copy the image ID. Okay, directly you can directly now if this is not the place directly you can go to the documentation also. I'm not saying that you have to log into the AWS cloud and you need to find out the image. You can go to the documentation also. You can find out what are all the images present. Okay, for now I'm just finding out this image. The image is like Amazon Linux machine, and you can see what kind of configuration we'll be getting for it. Okay, this is a free tier eligible. We can give t2.micro and t2.micro only here also. I'm be removing this one and providing this instance. My key pair is the name of the key pair I'm providing. I'm just creating. Okay, I'm not giving any region and all. If I do not provide anything by default, it will be taking some default options. I'm going to give name as my EC2 stack. I'm going to click on next. That's it. If you want to create, maybe sometimes if you are missing to give, if we are missing to provide something, okay, some input, some other inputs, maybe it will fail to create. You can see the error. Okay, you can go to the resources and you can see the error. Based on the error, we can find out what might be the changes. Based on the error, we might understand, we can understand easily, so that we will be going and we will be adding the code changes again, then again we'll be running it. Okay, now it got failed. You see the rollback in, it got failed. Okay, the infra is not created. Okay, we'll go to the resources. I'll simply see here, it is key pair. My key pair does not exist. My key pair does not exist. Why? Because this is um, in the code. If you remember, we have kept that key pair is my key pair. Okay, and you can see here where it is launching an instance. I will be going for key pairs. This option. What is the key pair I have? The key pair I have is new key pair. And let me check whether that key pair is already available in my machine. New key pair is there. So new KP, I can provide new KP. So for now, I need to edit it. Okay, how can I edit? I'll just go for it. Go for the template, view in infrastructure. Go to the template again. So I'm modifying this one and I will be pasting it to, so new KP. This is the key pair I'm already having, updating the template, confirming the cloud formation. This is how, okay, this is how actually we are going to modify it and I will be updating everything. So even if it fails, like the only thing is like maybe we need to provide more details. Okay, we need to go for we need to find out. You can go to the resources. You can place. Okay, you can click on here. It is clearly showing my keypad does not exist. It is showing the old one only. Maybe it is not updated that time. It has not. I think it is updated. Go to the resource. Delete it. It is not created. Okay, maybe some issue is there. Okay, we need to find out. Hope you understood like what is the issue over there. Maybe we need to find out what is the. You can go to the resources and you can find out the status. It will clearly show. The status will be clearly shown here. You can find out the status and based on the error, we can modify the changes and we can rerun it. Okay, so that the infrastructure will be created. So these are the examples will make you understand like how can we create infrastructure in cloud formation. Any questions you have in creating infrastructure by using cloud formation? I've gone through few examples. Even you can practice and you can understand it, how actually we can do it. Okay. If you are not having any questions, let me go through the another service. Okay, we have another service called, this is one service. Okay, we have seen today cloud formation. Let me go through the another service which is called SQS. We have already understood about SNS, right? SNS we have gone through, I think. SNS stands for Simple Notification Service. We have already came across. And there is also a service called SQS. Okay, we have a service called Amazon Simple Queuing Service. Amazon Simple Queue Service. Okay. Simple queue service. To understand this one, okay, let me show you one document so that you will understand very easily. Consider what happens is like we have a we have some flow which we have already discussed it. Okay, so usually what happens is if I am having a server, okay, to understand SQS, okay, to understand the SQS, I'm just trying to explain you the conceptual. Okay, this will give you the basic knowledge so that you will understand what is SQS service, SQS, simple queue service. Consider we have a server. Okay, we have a server. Usually, how we access this server? If some application is running in this server, if some application is running in this server, how we access this server? Consider some app is running in this particular server. How we access this particular server? Usually, we will be accessing this. We will be accessing this server with the help of IP address, right? Usually we'll be accessing this with the help of IP address. This will be having some public IP. So with the help of this public IP, we can access this application. So, and I also told you like how can we attach a load balancer? Consider we have integrated some load balancer also. We have attached the load balancer also. We are not going to call it through the IP address. And I'm going to call it, I'm going to access it with the help of load balancer URL. We have a load balancer attached to it, and I will be accessing whatever the request that comes here. All the requests will be coming to the load balancer. Consider we have one more server also. Okay, we have one more server where the same application is running. Same app is running. We have one more one which is where the same app is running. We have a load balancer. Suppose if the request comes from the outside, okay, the request comes from the outside, the request will be coming to where? If the request comes from the outside, the request comes to the load balancer. The load balancer will divert the traffic to the load balancer will divert the traffic to these servers, either this particular server or this particular server. The load balancer will divert. And I also told you, usually, whenever if I want to share my application, my website name or anything to the outside, am I going to share the load balancer URL to the public? How I will be sharing? I will be sharing the domain name, right? We understood a service called Route 53. You understood a service called Route 53. What we are doing with the help of Route 53? Route 53 is what? Route 53 is a DNS service. DNS stands for what? Domain name system or domain name service.
Yes.
So we'll be going for attaching a domain name. Okay, I'm going to register a domain name like vamsicloud.com, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to register a domain name and I will be attaching that domain name to which one? Can you tell me now? I have a registered domain name. I want to attach it to my application and I have a load balancer integrated to the application. Okay, I'm not calling it using my IP address. I have integrated a load balancer. Now to the load balancer URL, I'll be attaching the domain name. You understood, right? If there is no load balancer, URL, I will be integrating my domain name with the IP address only. if there is a load balancer URL, I will be attaching my domain name with the load balancer URL so that if the public access from the browser, okay, the public access this website from the browser, the request will goes to the load balancer. The load balancer will be accessing the application. This is how actually the flow will be. Meanwhile, so if the application is, if the request is sent to the application, usually one more example you need to understand, we'll be having a web servers. All these are the web servers. In this example, whatever the servers I have shown you here, consider these are the web servers. Okay. Consider these are the web servers to access the web application. These are the web servers. But there are some data. Okay. It has to fetch some data also. On the back end, we have some database servers also. On the back end, we have some database servers also. If it has to fetch the data, consider some request is coming to fetch the data. So usually how actually the flow will be, first the user will enter the domain name in the browser. The request will goes to the load balancer. The load balancer will be going to the, from the load balancer, the request will be going to the web server. If the request is related to fetch some data from the web servers, the request will be going to this application servers. Okay, from the web servers, the request will be going to the application servers. That application can be anything. So you consider it is a database. Okay, you're having some data, it wants to fetch some data. Consider this is the database server. Okay, that it has the request has to go for database servers. Again, it fetches the data. Again, the same thing will be the flow will be like the request will be going to the response will be going to the web server. From the web server, the response will be going to the load balancer. From the load balancer, the response will be going to the domain name. You got it? This is how actually the request and responses will be processed. But sometimes, okay, sometimes let me show you one diagram to make you understand very clearly. So this is how actually, this is the website name I am trying to access. And my first request will go to the load balancer. From the load balancer, the request will be going to the web servers. And from the web server, the request will be going to the application servers, AS1, AS2, okay, DB. All these are the application servers or database. Application server might be different from database server. Assume that we have a web servers. From the web servers, the request will move to the application servers. And from the application server, it will fetches the data. You can assume in your own way, okay? From the web servers, the request will be moving to the application servers. So if you observe very clearly here, between web servers and application servers, we have a service called, usually we use a service called SQS, Simple Queuing Service. What is the purpose? The purpose is to store the messages in the queues. The purpose is to store the messages in the queues. Okay? Try to understand this. If you understand this particular diagram, you will understand very clearly. What is the backup mechanism for application server? Application servers will receive from the web server, the request will be going to the application servers. And if the application server is unable to process all the requests at a time, got it right? From the load balancer, the request will be going to the web servers. From the web server, the request will be going to the application servers. And if the application server will take some time to process the request, and if there are many requests coming to the application servers, all the requests will be waiting in a service called Simple Queuing Service. All the requests coming from web servers to the application servers. All the requests from the web servers will be stored in SQS, Simple Queue Service. So what happens? Application server will pull the request from the SQS. Okay, application server will pull the request from the SQS and process it. Once that is done, again it will pull the next one from the SQS again. You got it right? There is a flow here between web servers and application server. Okay, you can understand it. Between web server and application server, we have a load balancer. Okay, I'm not going to start from the beginning. You can understand now. From the web server, the request will be going to the application servers. If the application servers cannot handle all the requests at a time, the request will be stored into a queue called into a service called SQS, Simple Queue Service. In queue format, all the messages, all the requests will be stored in the queue format in SQS. So application server will pull the request from the SQS. Application server will pull the request from the SQS. So now you can understand what is SQS. SQS will flow. SQS will control the flow of requests. SQS will control the flow of requests. Once the request is pulled from the SQS, the request in SQS will not be deleted. Once the request is pulled from SQS, the request in SQS will not be deleted. It will be visible for 30 seconds. See, if the request is there in the SQS, the request will not be deleted. That's the reason where we are storing all our request. We are storing in the simple queue service. All the requests coming from the web servers has to be processed by application servers. If the application servers are unable to process all of them at a time, all the requests must be waiting at some queue. Otherwise, they might get deleted. So they will be waiting in a queue called SQS, simple queue service. So one by one, application server will pull the requests and they will process the requests. Okay. So that you can see here a few more things. Within the 30 seconds, application server should process the request. Within 30 seconds, application server should process the request. If application server process the request, that request will be deleted from SQS. Okay, once it process, that will be deleted from SQS. And otherwise, that request will be waiting in the SQS only. Okay, if the application server is unable to process the request, it will be visible again within 30 seconds. If it is not enabled, within 30 seconds, the application server has to process it. If it is not able to process the request within 30 seconds, the request will be visible again in the SQS. The request will not be deleted. Hope you understood what is the reason why we are going for this SQS service and all. Okay. So we don't have anything to see the practicals of this one, but I can explain you like how you can say, suppose if we are going to let me show you other examples. Well, I'll show you some examples to understand where the simple queuing service is useful. Okay, you can see this one. Advantages. Okay, if there is an application, okay, consider there is an e-commerce application where customer places an order. Okay, and once the customer places an order, there are many things, there are many actions to perform actually. First one is payment processing, inventory update, shipping, email confirmation. Consider these are the tasks that should be handled. There are multiple tasks that should be handled. Okay, there are multiple tasks that should be handled. So what happens is, like, we are going to create a queue for each and every one. We'll be creating one queue for payment processing. We'll be creating one queue for inventory update. We'll be creating a queue for shipping. Okay, we'll be creating a queue for email confirmation. So that all the requests coming from all the payment processing requests will be waiting at payment processing queue until the application server will process it. Okay, until the application server process it. There will be a separate queue created for inventory update. So if the transaction is waiting for inventory update, everything will be waiting here, inventory update queue. So when the application server process it, so that this particular request will be deleted from the queue. Like that, all the payment processing request will be storing in payment processing queue. All the inventory updates will be stored here. All the shipping updates will be stored. All the email confirmation request will be stored here in the particular queue called email confirmation. This is how actually, when a customer places an order, there are multiple things that needs to be performed. So that we'll be creating a queue, okay, between web server, okay, between web server and application server. You understood the difference between web and application server, right? First of all, the request will goes to the web server. From the web server, if it has to fetch some data or if some data has to be updated to the database, definitely the request has to go to the application servers only. So if the application server is unable to handle all the requests at a time, So what happens is like we are maintaining a queue, and application server will be pulling the request from the queue, will process it. Once it is completed, then only it is going to pull the another one from the. That is how actually, as I told you, right, few steps, like within 30 seconds, all the requests will be waiting there at the application queue, the queuing service. So once the request is completed, the application server will fetches it from the queue and process it. It has to be done within 30 seconds. If it is not done within 30 seconds, the request will be again visible in the queue. Okay, within 30 seconds, it has to be deleted. If it is not deleted, again, it will pull the request from the queue. Let me show you how actually the service will be. This is called SQS. Nothing we are doing here. We'll be creating a queue. We'll be just creating a queue. And I told you, no, while creating the queue, we have two options here, standard and FIFO. If the message ordering you need to follow, you will go for FIFO. No message ordering, you'll go for standard. I'm going for standard. I'm just going for creating a queue. That's it. You need to provide the name of the queue here. My queue. Queue is created successfully. Okay, we have a queue created. All the requests will be okay. All the request will be whatever the request. Okay, whatever the request that is coming from the application servers, we'll be integrating the application servers to this one. So the request coming from the application servers will be stored here, so that okay, so that the application server will not fail in processing the request. Okay, we cannot see the practicals here because the application server, that is the real-time scenario where our request will be processing. Okay, the request will be sent, the request will be maintained in the simple queuing service SQS. Hope you understood the conceptual wise how actually SQS service will be used. Did you got it right? So the most important thing that you need to understand is the request will be going to the web servers. From there, the request will be going to the application servers. Between web servers and application servers, we have a queue maintained so that the application servers will fetch us the request from the queue and process it. Once that is done, again, it will fetch one more request from the queue. That's how the queue is maintained. Any questions? So from tomorrow onwards, okay, from tomorrow onwards, we will be starting DevOps tools. Please join the classes, same timings only, 9 to 10 only. We'll be starting DevOps sessions. Please join. And if any one or two services I missed here in the AWS, I'll take a look. What are the services missed? And I will be taking, okay, I'll be taking the sessions, okay, in some other time, like 8 to 9, 1 or 2 days. Okay, I'll inform you. But from tomorrow onwards, we'll be starting DevOps classes. Okay. Any questions? We'll discuss.